Hi everyone, this video is going to talk about channels in Photoshop. Channels are one of those areas that tend to stymie people a bit. They just don't understand what they are until they have that light bulb moment and then they go, oh, that's all they are. So let's see if we can get you there a little faster than you would by going there on your own. Although it is a little easier to ignore channels these days because Photoshop does so much within the program, there are some situations, especially in making complex selections, where channels are important to you. And also, the other part of that is it's very important to understand channels to save selections and to make spot color channels. Okay, so let's start here with these four shapes. We have a white heart, a red square, a green circle, and a blue diamond. And each one of these, the three colors, is the exact color of pure red in the RGB color scheme, pure green in the RGB color scheme, and the pure blue from that. So what that means is this red has no blue or green in it, and the green has no red or blue in it, etc. The white, however, has all three colors in full complement because the way you get to white in the RGB color scheme is to add colors together to get white. You add the three colors together in the full strength power of 255 in this case to get to white. This is an 8-bit image, so I'm dealing with 256 shades from the darkest dark to the whitest white, which means I add 255 red, 255 blue, 255 green, and that gives me my white. If you don't believe me, let me come over here and option click. We'll go to the color picker, and there you have it right there. That is 255 red, 255 green, 255 blue. If I go and click on this one, you see it's 255 red, 0 green, 0 blue, and you get the idea. Okay? And if you want to get a pure red or a pure green or a pure blue, you just go to the color picker and put in 255 in one of those colors, and that will give you the pure RGB color. Okay, so what does this mean? If we go over to channels, let's look at what it means. This is our composite channel. It's not really a channel at all. It's essentially a shortcut method for getting back to the way your image looks when all the channels are put together. It does not function as a channel. You can't really change anything here. It just, if you click it, you get back to the way your image looks. Okay, so the red channel is going to show me where the red is put onto the canvas. Think of it like a stencil. Like you're stenciling a t-shirt, you have a plastic stencil that covers most of the t-shirt except where the red ink is supposed to go down, and it fits beautifully. We don't have to worry about it seeping out of corners or anything. This one shows you where the red would be put down. So like I said, it's 100% red in the heart, also 100% blue and 100% green, but it's 100% red in the square as well. So this would be where the red is mapped into the image. Everywhere that's white, you've got red, including the highlights because those are lighter than the colors that they're highlighting. Those are just there to kind of show you the shapes of the shapes where they are in the space, so you kind of have a little bit of a map there. I put those on by using the bevel and emboss layer style. In this one, we see where all the green is mapped out. So you've got the highlights of the other two, but the shapes themselves are gone. They've disappeared because there is no green in this blue shape. There is no green in the red shape. There's 100% green here and 100% green here. Okay, and in here we have the blues. All the blues that make up this image, this is where they are on the canvas. So this one's 100% blue within the diamond, and this is 100% blue within the heart. So you add all those 300% together to get white, making this an additive color process. CMYK is a subtractive color process. You take colors out to get to white. It's Crayola crayons. You don't put the crayon on the paper, you have white. If you mushed all the crayons together as hard as you could get pretty darn close to black if you did it, if you knew how to do it and you did it right. It's hard with crayons. It's easier with paint to do that. But that is what you need to think of. These are the colors that make up your image right there. So you don't want to be messing with these color channels unless you know what you're doing. You need to be careful over here that if you come in and make the change here, if I come in and do a change to this, that's not even going to let me change it. Okay, let me go to, that is the RGB. Okay, let me bring it down like this, see if I can get it to change. Okay, this is a timeout. This is a place where you cut, undo. Okay. Okay. If you were to change a color channel, for instance, if I came in here and used my brush tool and did something with it, brush, is it going to let me do something? It may not. Oh, wow. Let me see if I can filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Wow. Shit. Okay. Okay. We don't have anything down here yet, but if we were to have another channel down here, if I were to take, for instance, this blue channel and copy it by dragging it over that little icon there, this is now an alpha channel. So I'm going to rename it alpha channel blue, because that's what it's made from. And this one, I can come in and I can paint this if I want. So if I wanted to kind of come in and take out everything but that blue diamond and paint this all with black, what this is doing is showing me a selection, and it's a saved selection. So wherever this is white in this channel, it's a selection. Shall we check that? Okay, I'm going to go click on the composite to get back to my image. If I go up to select and load selection and go down to alpha channel blue, it should automatically select that blue diamond, and it does. The nice thing about that is if I spend much time at all making a selection, then it is saved in the alpha channels. I can always get back to it. As long as you save your document as a PSD or a TIFF, your alpha channels are automatically saved with them. All right, so that is an important thing to remember. If you spend any time at all making a selection, then you want to save it. Okay, the other part of that is, as you saw, I can go into that alpha channel and I can modify that selection. So I can come into here and put a Gaussian blur on it, for instance. Put a big fat blur on there. And I could come in here to there and put a little bit of a distort on the edge, like that. And now that is a selection. Let me do it one more time, make it even more. Cool. Okay, so that's a selection. But also, look at the way it's pictured here. A selection, a fully selected thing in channels or anything in the color channels or a mask is solid white. This isn't solid white. There are lots of shades of gray in here. So let's load this as a selection. You saw me go up to select and load selection to do it, but you can also just command or control click on the thumbnail for the channel, and that loads the selection. So now if I come in here, I'm on the layer with the blue diamond and select it, and I'm going to get rid of the other one, and look what happens to that shape now with that selection. That is a really cool way to kind of modify a shape or modify the way something is selected. You saw that those dark spaces, that's where it's less selected. That means it's less opaque there. So if I were to come in here and put white down instead of black, you can see through that a little bit more. Or let's just take out both backgrounds and you can see the checkerboard through it. So it's not fully selected, it's semi-transparent, which makes it a really, really interesting way to make a selection and picture something. If I put one over the other, let me darken that up just a bit because this is fun and interesting what's happening here. You can see how you could make a texture, very cool texture, out of what was a very solid object to begin with. It wasn't even three-dimensional to begin with because of the fact that it wasn't beveled and embossed. So if I take the bevel and emboss off, you see it was quite flat. That's the original. There you go. So remember that you can modify selections by saving them and going over to the channels and saving it as an alpha channel. You can also modify selections by using the quick mask in the same way, and we talked about that in an earlier video this week. So that is the basics of color channels. All right, and I'm going to stop here for now and pick it up again in the next part.